Gettysburg Museum of History Studios. You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
General Reynolds was killed early this morning. In my opinion, there seems to be no directing person. When Brigadier General John Buford sent his message to Major General Alfred Pleasonton on the afternoon of July 1st, 1863, did it plant the seed in Major General George Meade's mind that a new commander was needed for the Union First Corps? Join us as we explore the leadership of Major General Abner Doubleday on July 1st, 1863. Louis Trott is with me once again, ladies and gentlemen, and we're here to talk about May 25th's tour, Get Out of the Car tour, and that is the Memorial Day weekend Saturday, isn't it?
It should be because we moved it,
right?
Yep.
I think so. I think that's what it is. That seems to be the winning formula for us on those. Yes, that would be it. I don't know why that didn't sound right in my head, but it is. Okay, so we're talking about Abner Doubleday. So as you pointed out on the last one, last promo that we did, usually we do brigades. We've done brigades before, but we're running out of brigades. And here you got three that are based on a person.
And their actions on the field.
Why Abner Doubleday?
I started thinking about doing people. I think the first one I thought about doing was Lee. We'll get to that after this. And then I started thinking about what other people I could do that warrant, you don't need to go out and spend 2 hours talking about certain people in the field.
No.
Just not enough material there, or interest for that matter, probably. Somehow Abner Doubleday popped into my mind. I said, well, this could be something. He gets relieved, and I think unfairly. He does a good job, and this is basically the end of his career.
Yeah. We don't really hear much about him afterwards.
And then what solidified is we did Robinson's division last fall. Dr. Peter Carmichael was gracious enough to join us on that and provide a lot of good insight.
Now, are you going to get Pete to come with you again this year?
I've asked Pete. And I've already sent him a text.
Good luck getting an answer.
Pete is a busy man.
He answers like 5 months later.
Yeah. Pete's a busy man. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, but he's finishing up a book now, so he's really busy.
Teaching school. He's got a lot more responsibilities at the school, he tells me.
Yeah.
Pete's a busy man.
Janitor.
Well, you got to keep the buckets clean and full.
Yeah, that's right.
But he said something during that tour that Doubleday put his units in a bad spot. Robinson's division eventually gets flanked, and they fall back, and that unhinges everything else. So that's what solidified it. Did Abner Doubleday do a good job? Did he do a bad job? His actions on the field warrant being relieved later on by Meade? Or was it Meade getting information from people like Buford? Nobody's in control up here. We know Doubleday's there, though. Is it information like that Meade takes in and decides, without any further evidence, I need a new commander for the First Corps, which is just decimated.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who you put in charge. You hardly have any men left. But it's the point that he gets relieved. And was that fair? So that's the presumption for this tour. Examine his actions, what happens on the field, how he places his troops. Does he know what Reynolds wanted to do or not? And is he going off what he thinks Reynolds wanted to do? And that is to hold the ground, fight for every inch, even barricade the streets, as Reynolds says. And I think he does the best he can. I don't think he does a bad job at all. I think he's placed in a bad spot. I think Reynolds does a poor job by putting himself out so far in front of the troops where he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of praise and all that, Reynolds does, and that's great. But in the end, he shouldn't have been out there.
Right.
Shouldn't have been out there at all.
Right.
So that's what got me thinking about doing Doubleday. Because it's a bit of a controversy when he gets...
Yeah, we don't really hear a lot about him anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, just that he was there. And what I also like about this is that it's a first day tour. And the first day we mentioned this a lot on the show, is like it's for the longest time has gotten short shrift when it comes to attention that people pay to different parts of the battle. It's always second and third day actions. And I guess, I don't want to say rightfully so, but understandably so, because they are the more romanticized actions since the battle. But really, I mean, the first day is just such a slaughter.
I mentioned this to Pete. I think I mentioned it on that tour, and he had a different viewpoint. That I think, at first it seems like the Confederates win the first day.
Yeah.
They do the pushing. They move the Union Army off of those ridges back towards the town, back to the high ground. But the Union Army exacts such a huge toll on those Confederates that I don't think they win at all. Pete, I remarked, if I remember correctly, at the very least he'd call it a draw, because I had said I think the Confederates lose on the first day. Even if the Union Army cedes all that ground, they fall back to the good ground. But the toll they exact on those Confederate units pushing the Union Army back, that comes back to haunt them later on.
Yeah. And
that's what eventually got me to this notion that I think they lost the first day.
Yes, that's interesting to look at it that way. And what? The more I learn about the first day, and I know this wasn't the intention, or maybe it was, but I doubt it. I haven't read it anywhere that this is our intention in doing what we do on the first day. But I kind of look at the first day, the 11th Corps and the First Corps, the First Corps and the 11th Corps, as a really big skirmish line that is delaying the enemy advance to the high ground south of town. And ultimately, that's what it turned out to be. That's not what the intention was. I'm sure the intention was to hold the ground that they originally occupied. It was not to eventually give up the town. But if we had to, then there's this hill on the south of town that we can go to, right? But, I mean, essentially, that's what it is. If you want to think, like, oversimplify it and think of it in a way, that's the way I kind of see it, is it's just a big skirmish line, just kind of delaying the enemy advance, like Buford does in the morning on the Chambersburg Pike. That's what the 1st and 11th Corps do for the whole army. Basically, they're buying time.
Yeah,
but it's such a huge cost.
It is. I appreciate the skirmish line analogy. It's heavier than a skirmish line.
Well,
they don't fire.
Of course.
Well, this is my point. They don't fire and fall back like a skirmish line. They're trying to stand their ground, whereas a skirmish line doesn't stand their ground.
Right.
They're moving back.
They'll hold it long enough, and then they move back when it's getting hot. But
the Union Army's trying to stay there until they can't.
Yes.
I mean, they line up those cannon on Seminary Ridge, and they're trying to hold. It's not until
they fortify.
It's not until Abner Doubleday flanks. I'm sorry,
I know.
Oh, to previous days,
2 years ago,
when the cops got called on us. They flank that line there, Doubleday's line on the southern end of that. But I just, back to our topic at hand. I thought about Doubleday. I think he gets a raw deal. It's interesting that he gets. I think he gets a raw deal, and the guy that relieves him, I think, gets a raw deal. Everybody would probably agree. Meade, he gets eviscerated after this. Why didn't you chase him and destroy the army? Taken before the hearing and stuff in 1864. So,
but don't they both kind of get the raw deal, because the first person reporting on them to someone with authority is kind of doing them dirty? Like Sickles goes to, he's in the hospital, he talks to Lincoln, and he starts bashing Meade. Battle's not even won or lost yet. Doesn't know what the outcome's going to be. Bashes Meade. Who is it? Was it Howard that bashes? Not bashes, but kind of misrepresents Doubleday, or
who's falling back first game?
Yeah. And then Meade hears that and replaces him with Newton.
Yeah. It's
Fake
that,
Newton.
and then the report on that day from Buford. Nobody's in command here.
Yeah.
Well, that would include Howard.
Yeah.
He's up there, So, yes.
What time was that report from Buford?
It's in the afternoon.
Okay, so Howard's there.
I have two times in mind. I don't know which one's right, 13:30 or 15:30.
Well, either way, it's in the afternoon.
Yeah. It's in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's after the morning fight, and the cavalry's been pushed back at that point. It's probably towards between 3 and 5 o'clock, I think. The timestamp's in the OR, and I looked at it. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But it comes late in the action. The action's going. And I just think they're doing the best they can. There's no reinforcements coming up there, whereas the Confederates are continually throwing in more brigades.
Right.
The Confederates are using more men. That's the one day when the Confederates bring more men to the field than the Union Army can get there out of the 3 days. But look how they held on. The Union Army held on. I think, and I go back to it, I think it's a Confederate loss. It's not you're not losing territory. You got to think outside the box to come to this conclusion. But the amount of men that they use and lose compared to what the Union can loses, and how much they can afford to lose, which is not very many.
But you're talking out of the whole army or the forces on the field that day?
I'm talking out of the army.
The whole army, okay. Yeah.
Because many of these men come back to fight on what day? The 3rd.
Yeah.
And look how they've been chewed up.
Sure.
Rhodes' division's supposed to fight on the 2nd. They don't. Some of the reasons they don't are very good. Have nothing to do with how many men they've lost, but they've lost a ton. And they've been weakened to a certain extent. And, the amount of men that are doing this to these Confederates, much less. And they just give them all that they could ask for. And who's the guy out there? It's Doubleday. Doubleday sets up that line on Seminary Ridge. He has them set up the barricade, Cutler's Brigade.
Right. Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't mean to cough in your ear, folks.
Cutler's Brigade. Part of Robinson's division.
Right, because Reynolds is dead in a half an hour. So he's not really setting much of anything up.
The Iron Brigade's just getting into action when he goes down.
So it's really Doubleday who is the guy that sets up the First Corps on the morning of the first. So, I mean, it's his battle.
Yes.
But we always think about Reynolds, but Reynolds gets snuffed out like right away.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, okay. So now miles wise, as far as how much are we going to be walking here?
We are going to walk. I had hopes of, I think about crops that are growing in the field. You know this.
We've got them growing by May.
Yeah. We'll be in the area of Herbst Woods there, along the line where Doubleday's monument is. That's where we'll start.
We're going to meet.
But I want to, after we get done talking there, I want to walk towards the town that we did last year. We're not going to stop near people's house with the pool and they can get angry with us. But walk over to Seminary Ridge, walk across that field to Seminary Ridge, and then talk about how he sets up things there. Because they fight these two different actions. They fight up here on McPherson's Ridge, and then they fall back to Seminary Ridge where they're trying to make this stand. And Doubleday's the one that sets that defense up. He has the barricades built. He has the cannon set up there. And, he's managing all this stuff. So however many yards it is from Reynolds Avenue back towards Seminary Ridge.
Okay.
So, and all it's not, you're walking through a field, but it's not really hilly.
No.
And I don't think crops will be growing at that point.
No.
We're just going to keep going, though. We're not going to stop.
But, if it rained a couple of days before, it might be soft ground, so bring some boots just in case.
Yeah.
You're walking out in a farm field. You're not walking in a field in a park in your neighborhood. So it's not lawn. It's ground.
Now, if they've planted something, I'm not going to trudge through the thing and get in trouble. Or
we'll find a way around.
We'll figure something out and adjust. So I always go out early. I get here about an hour early, and I generally walk whatever we're going to walk first, just to make sure nothing's changed since the previous time I walked.
I think last time we cut across that field, there were crops, but there was like field grass pathway basically between the two fields of crops that we used.
And whatever was growing hadn't been growing very long.
Right.
It's still early in the season.
Right.
So
all right. So we're going to meet at the Doubleday Monument on Reynolds Avenue, and it's going to end at the Lutheran Seminary. So park where legal, park where legal, park where legal. And
what I do? I park where I'm going to end.
Right.
Because I walk it beforehand. So there's a lot of parking over there in the parking lot. there's a couple parking lots over there. I don't know. I know the seminary has one of them to visit their museum, but there's one next to it closer to the daycare center. I assume that's public parking. I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Let's give it a shot and park there. I've actually parked there before and been fine. When we did Abner Doubleday, that's where I parked.
That's right. All right, so we'll see you there. That's, what is that, May 25th, 10 a.m. Get there a little early so that we can start at 10 on the dot. And again, meet at the Doubleday Monument. Ends at the Lutheran Seminary. Park where legal, park where legal, park where legal. We'll see you on the field. Okay. Yes, sir.
Stop giving away the park at the end trick. That's only for experience.
I'll cut that out.
What?
He said, stop giving away the park at the end trick. That's only for the experienced people.
It doesn't matter. I have to park at the beginning anyway.
Right, because you got the flag, right.
Sorry, Eric.
Our hearts so stout have got us famed, for soon 'tis known from whence we came. Wherever we go, they dread the name of Gary Owen in glory. Instead of spa, we'll drink down there.